All right. Welcome back to another special episode of Politics and Movies. Every episode is special, unless it's not. And we've got Mike and friends. I'm Mike, and our friend today is Billy. And we're talking about a very fun movie that, I grew up with. It was a staple of cable in the 90s, late 90s. But yeah, I really enjoy this movie. We're talking about The Birdcage, the 1996 American comedy film produced and directed by Mike Nichols. And it's based on the 1978 French-Italian film La Cage aux Folles, itself an adaptation of a 1973 play of the same name. And yeah, the screenplay was written by Elaine May, and this movie was also produced by Mike Nichols, and it, of course, stars Robin Williams, Gene Hackman, Nathan Lane, and Diane Wiest. But of course, it also features Hank Azaria, Christine Baranski, Dan Futterman, Callista Flockhart in one of her earliest roles, Tom McGowan, Grant Heslov, Luca Tomasini, J. Roy Helland, David Sage, and little cameo from Jay Leno on the TV.
This this movie was stacked.
Yeah, oh, it really was. Well, it was Mike Nichols. That makes sense. He was big, especially in the 70s.
They were like, the way to make the heterosexuals see this movie, and the conservatives see this movie, is making everyone be in this movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely, but like, to be fair, this was a passion project of Mike Nichols, so like it makes sense that, you know, he would have wanted it to be as accessible for modern audiences, but also good. I think this does strike a decent balance of that, especially using the lens of the mid '90s era, because of course, by modern standards, some of this movie is maybe arguably a lot of this movie is problematic. Like the depiction of gays being forced into the closet, especially, well, the internal homophobia of that, the internalized need to mask up and present as straight for the straights, performing for the straights, and that is just not something that is emphasized anymore for a number of reasons, for a number of very valid reasons. But just right off the bat, do you have any thoughts about that or this movie in general?
I really think this movie feels like a play. Like it has.
Well, yeah, it's based on one. Yeah, but yeah.
But yeah, it has that vibe for sure. Especially like with the settings, I and just with the emphasis on the characters. It's interesting. I feel like the performances are just so powerful, and I mean that's probably like due to the star power that we have here, as well, and the strength of the script as well. But like I feel like today sometimes we see like so much star power, like I don't know, like Chris Pratt or something, and it's just like, oh wow, like he's good, but like these roles felt like they were made for these people. Like, oh, Nathan Lane is perfect. Gene Hackman is perfect. Robin Williams is perfect. They're just uh, they're all like giving it all their all, and they're all fitting into this perfectly. Um, like we talked about before we started this episode. I joked and said like you were talking about how Nathan Lane is gay, and he fits this role perfectly. And I was like, I really feel like, especially with this role, like Robin Williams has to be bi, or at least a little bit on that spectrum, you know?
Maybe. We don't know for sure, right? As far as we know, he only had relationships with women, was married. So we don't know. Like, and by the lens of like back then, people would say, "Oh, that means he was straight." And it's like now we know that, like you were saying, queerness is a spectrum. So like, there's a chance that he like had flings with men. We don't know, right? It doesn't matter anyway for the sake of this text. But there was another interesting aspect of the Nathan Lane thing that I didn't mention before because I kind of wanted to spring it on you. Um,
No.
no, it's not a bad thing to fall in love with me. But my point is, Nathan Lane was still in the closet when this came out, which is interesting because so he was representation, like actual representation, because he didn't come out publicly until 1999 after the killing of Matthew Shepard, who was yeah, he was an American student at the University of Wyoming who was beaten, tortured, and left to die near Laramie. Uh,
Jesus.
yeah, on October 6th, 1998, supposedly just for being gay. Which Wyoming is definitely not the most progressive leaning of places. So it
Yeah.
would definitely make sense.
What did, like, you talk about those two s- circumstances, like one led to the other. Like, did that influence him coming out?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, according to this article, in The Advocate, which is not a publication I'm familiar with. Oh, it's an LGBTQ magazine. Well, that makes sense. Okay, okay.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, as a celebrity, which obviously I know nothing about that, but as a celebrity, I'm sure like he didn't really he doesn't need to come out, like that's his private life.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
I I am I think that's awesome that like he came out to support something like bigger than him, something
right.
for the community.
Well, like to your point, Roddy McDowell, of Planet of the Apes and Fright Night fame, he also has an incredible episode as a villain in Columbo. But anyway, he was long suspected to be gay. We know for a fact that he had many male roommates, and he was never married, and had no notable relationships with women. But like when he was asked about that in interviews, he'd always be like, "That's my private like life. Fuck off," So
Yeah.
but that's understandable, right? That's his perspective on that, and like it is none of people's business if like because yeah, as a celebrity, he gets to pick and choose what platforms he chooses to champion, and that's what a lot of honestly conservatives don't understand when they lean into it themselves with Kevin Sorbo being a washed up fuck who now has to make money by shilling for companies with the name Patriot in their title. I swear I saw one of their fucking ads last week. I won't even say what the product was because it doesn't matter. It was something stupid. That's all you need to know. Uh, that has absolutely nothing to do with Kevin Sorbo's acting career. But now he's a conservative mouthpiece, just because he can't get work with his idiotic opinions. But
Hon-
anyway,
Honestly, though, like, I'll go on. I'll hop on this tangent for a
all right,
minute. Like,
all right.
that is actually like becoming a lot of people's like career now. Like, a lot of washed up celebrities are resorting to that. I mean, we just had that entire debacle. And I do love like dating this in this specific time and place. With the halftime show where there was the protest against Bad Bunny's performance, And who was it? Who was it, Mike? Who did the halftime show for the Conservatives?
It was Kid Rock. And
The
for
worst.
days, for fucking days after, they tried to spin it as though yeah, the conservative halftime show got more views than the regular one. It's like, absolutely fucking not, you fucking idiots. No, Bad Bunny blew them out of the fucking water. I mean,
The
there's a
kid,
reason why Kid Rock wasn't invited to a lot of conservative events after that for a long time, because, they're talking
uh,
out of both sides of their mouth, you know?
yeah, the show was so bad too. If if anybody watched it, like he wasn't even singing. It wasn't even his performance. He was he
Was he
was
lip syncing?
yeah. It it's so fucking bad. Like
Well, as
yeah.
we all know, Kid Rock is a massive piece of shit. We might do Osmosis Jones at some point for some fucking reason, but there's actually a lot to talk about with that movie. Especially if I talk about it with you, because there's a lot of like medical stuff and psychological stuff, especially, you know.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, my point is, of course, in recent history, his song on that soundtrack resurfaced, and of course, it contains the lyrics. Some say it's statutory, but I say it's mandatory. It's
Oh.
like, why did this man? Why was this man? I think is a better question. Yeah,
Oh my god. I mean,
yeah,
it like that answers the question of like who would go to the conservatives to make the money that they can't make in their basic career, and it's someone who's okay with a line like that. Someone who's already crossed those boundaries long ago with low morals, like they can't get the attention they want from the mainstream audience because everybody knows he's a washed up hack. So let's get some extra money from people who probably don't even care about you, but are just listening to you to rebel. But the funny thing is, like, I know a couple of conservatives who, like, from work, who listen to this and they were like, that was fucking awful.
yeah. Fair.
Yeah, they were just like, we turned on the halftime show, and that was awful. And then we went back to Bad Bunny,
Yeah.
and that was the thing. It was like absolutely unnecessary. Like Bad Bunny's performance. Who cares? Like if you are conservative, if you are liberal, if you're black, if you're white, if you're Hispanic, like it doesn't matter. It was if you could speak Spanish or not, it was still a good show.
Right. And getting into that a little bit more, I really fucking hated the rhetoric, the racist rhetoric about Bad Bunny not being American. Fucker, he's from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, has been for a long ass time. So he was born in the U.S. Maybe not the contiguous U.S., but he was born in the U.S. And if you want to get into that, conservatives are the reason why Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. So maybe piss on yourself for once.
It's funny. I've been seeing some clips of people on YouTube saying, and this is probably it's one of those clips that probably go around from TikTok to whatever. But like, I miss when politics used to be like this, and it's um, Mitt Romney and wait, no, it's John McCain and Obama, and someone's talking to John McCain, and it's a old woman, and she's like, I just don't trust Obama because he's not a U.S. citizen and he's an Arab. And John McCain is immediately like, no, 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 I know this man. Like he's a family man. He's a good man. Like he um he is a U.S. citizen, and that's all you need to worry about. I may not agree with his views, but like that is not the issue, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Of course, contrast that with Trump, who for fucking years spread the horseshit conspiracy theory that Obama was actually born in Kenya, which we know isn't true. For starters, he didn't have that kind of relationship with his dad, like fucking ever, you know?
yeah, yeah. Well, it's like the crux of that. For the crux of that video and the crux of this is that you know Trump spreads misinformation and hate, where politics used to just be not about that, but just about a clash of values, a clash of morals, and like that's better, like just like you support liberal or the Republican or the conservative agenda, whatever, but like that's because of your values. It's not because oh that guy is Arab, or it's not because that guy is whatever. But I
Right,
mean,
right.
yeah,
It's just, yeah, the difference in policy, the difference in ideology. And that's really what it's supposed to be. But honestly, the two-party system was never good. It was pretty much born out of the shit show of the 1861 election of course, Abraham Lincoln, who was a Republican at a time when Republicans had absolutely no power well, they had much, much less power than they have now, at least, but that's not saying much because it was a multi-party system at the time. And Republicans were also very far to the left, especially compared to where they are now. But like even by standards back then, they were mostly abolitionists. They believed in aggressive, progressive policies. So yeah, they were a left-leaning party. And so there are, of course, bad faith actors who try to use that to say that, oh, like, well, because, uh, blacks historically voted for Republicans, and that's why blah blah blah. But it's like they were a different party back then, my dude. If you're gonna lie, do a better job. And like by the same logic, uh, people gloss over the Southern strategy. In the '60s when they say like, oh well, Democrats were the KKK. It's well, where were they? They were Southern conservative Democrats. There were uh, liberal and leftist Democrats at the time, but they didn't tend to live in fucking Texas. You fucking lying piece of shit. And sometimes they did. Like you could argue both ways about LBJ till you're blue in the face, but that's not what we're talking about today. So
yeah. Well, that's just the cherry picking,
yeah,
like
yeah, right.
that's like the Rome immigration destroyed Rome. Like no, like get your fucking facts straight.
Yeah,
Like stop cherry picking.
right.
You tell the whole story. If you tell the whole story, then the actual truth will come out. But like the, I think it's just funny because the in this movie the father of the fiance is part of like is a senator. He's
Uh,
um
yeah, Kevin Keeley,
yes, yeah, and
played by Gene Hackman. Yeah,
and he's part of this moral order. um and he's definitely trying to structure society and be like that good in society. And it's like because of that, they this couple has to closet themselves, and it's
right.
just like in a patriarchy, people always talk about like if you're a man, patriarchy is good for you.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and that's not true. patriarchy is good for no one, because
Right.
here's these two men who have to closet themselves, and that's not good for them. That this is causing turmoil in their marriage.
Yes. Well, they're not married. They're, there's a big plot of the movie where
They're gonna get
marriage.
married afterwards. My bad.
No,
Like,
marriage for gays was not legal in Florida in 1996 at
oh,
all. Yeah.
I, oh yeah, like
Yeah. So it's a palimony agreement. That was the thing back then, was if you wanted to, legally have some kind of leg to stand on if your partner died, and
you get my point. But they're
yeah, yeah.
married in my mind.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's
Married in
fine.
my mind's not all right.
I'm sure once 2008 came around, they got married or whatever, 2006 or whatever the fuck absurd year it was when homosexuality was,
Jesus.
actually, you were allowed, the gays were allowed to marry. Yeah, like it's fucking ridiculous, but whatever. Anyway, there was one last thing I wanted to say about Nathan Lane, and it is relevant. It's that he had this story about when he came out to his mother at age 21. She said, "I'd rather you were dead," and he responded, jokingly, "I knew you'd understand." And then he further joked that once he got her head out of the oven, everything went fine. So it's like, yeah, this was in the atmosphere. It was that, like it, being gay or different in any notable way, noteworthy way, was extremely frowned upon. And your own family members would be like, "Oh my God." Yeah, and that's still a thing today. Not as bad sometimes because there's slightly more understanding about, homosexuality, but like, of course, there's still the trans stuff, because that is a hotly contested issue for some fucking reason. Just let people be people. Like, fuck off. Really. You don't have to be obsessed with everyone's genitals just because you don't understand. Like, maybe get your head out of the gutter. You claim to be the party of morals, and yet you're obsessed with people's junk, and you're platforming these people that have no morals whatsoever. I think you're full of shit. The party of law and order, more like the party of "I'm gonna go fuck everyone," the party of absolute hedonism. I'm
Well,
gonna fuck children.
the law and order is only good for them.
Right,
That's
right,
the patriarchy.
right,
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny because if you actually look at like you know, these issues, if you actually look at like the people who are causing problems, who are hurting other people, like, is it trans people? No, they just want to be left fucking alone. Like,
right.
just leave them, let them live their lives. Like, who cares if they use your toilets? They already are. Gay people have, where this was already happening with like gay people. Like, you were worried about them using their toilets. You're worried about black people using your toilets. Everybody's gonna be using your toilet. Fuck off. Like, who
Yeah,
cares? You want nobody to use your toilet? Go shit at home and be happy. But going back to Nathan Lane though, and his mom
yeah.
saying that, it just makes me curious. Do you think that like she was saying that because she was more just worried about him and his career and his life path, like, and just like thinking that if he's gonna be gay now, like it's going to just be hard for him in society, and like she'd rather he was dead because now it's gonna be like impossible for him to get a career or anything? Or do you think it was really
I think
just her saying that, like,
I think it's more complicated than that, is what I'm getting at. So to get into that a little bit, let's talk a little bit more about Nathan Lane's early life. He was born Joseph Lane in Jersey City, New Jersey, and his father, Daniel Joseph Lane, was a truck driver, interesting enough, and an aspiring tenor who died in 1967 from alcoholism when Nathan was 11. His mother, who we were just talking about, Nora Veronica Finnerty Elaine, was a housewife and secretary who suffered from bipolar disorder, so mental illness is a factor, and died in 2000. And they were both of his parents were Catholics, and all of their grandparents were Irish immigrants. So Irish Catholic immigrants are more likely to be very conservative and less open to that kind of thing, especially in uh, the 70s. Yeah, so if he was 21 when he came out, that would be 77, right? And to your point, like he did already have an acting career in 77. He moved to New York City in 1975, um, but he didn't appear in his first production until 78, Midsummer Night's Dream. So this would have been right before he got like heavy into acting. So yeah, maybe that was a factor that she thought that this would derail his career coming out as gay. But let me tell you, being gay in 70s Broadway was in no way a deterrent. Like, come on. Come on. It was expected. You, you had to have a gay CV.
They're like the qualifications. You gotta be gay. Come on,
Yeah, yeah,
but don't talk about it.
yeah. Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah,
Which is actually referenced in this movie. Don't ask, don't tell policy. Yeah,
I mean, it just makes sense because, like, it's all part of that closeted experience. Like, I mean, it makes sense why Nathan Lane like chose talk not to come out publicly for so long too, knowing that was his mom's reaction. Is I'd prefer that you'd be dead than that because like how when you're coming out that like other people are going to be thinking the same thing, like they're going to be just like, oh my god, like fuck this guy, like I'm not gonna watch any of his stuff now, or anybody else in his family. It's just like that visceral reaction. But again, like it's the community that's gonna be supporting you, the people who are caring, and you're supporting them by being one of those people who is gay and who's out there and who's showing that it's okay,
yeah, yeah.
it's
And you're talking
normal.
about the concept of a found family, and that is absolutely uh, addressed in this film because Val's family does include actual family, like his dad, but it also includes his dad's partner, Albert. Who
Yeah.
is not biologically related to him in any way, but Val eventually comes to think of him as his actual mother. Because his biological mother, played by Christine Baranski, Catherine, is not present in his life at all. Like she meets him for the first time near the end of this fucking movie, which is fucking wild.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because like that just seems like such a normal epiphany. Like it's like, dude, it's right in front of you. Your family is right there. Like, are you fucking blind? But Val is kind of a shithead.
He is for most of this
Every
movie. He is. Yeah.
everybody would be screaming at us this entire episode if we didn't talk about how much of a little shit stinker, annoying bitch that Val is.
Yes.
He it he doesn't see the obvious fact that this is his found family. He kind of like wants that connection with his mom, and he's thinking he's like begging his dad um to do this scheme so that he can
Yeah.
fit in, and it's just like dude, understand the truth. Understand that you are also closeting yourself if
Right.
you stick to this scheme, because like your father-in-law is going to find out eventually. Maybe it's
Right.
not after. Maybe it's not right now. Maybe it's 5 years later. But like are you gonna really stick to this scheme for the rest of your fucking life? Like,
Well,
are
right.
you?
We see that at the end of this movie when they get married, and like Val's, family and friends of family are almost all super gay. Most of them drag queens in full drag. So it's like, well, they would have found out at the wedding, apparently. But of course, that scene is also played up for comedy's sake to show the dichotomy of the conservative senators family and friends, and of course Val's uh, very less so family and friends. Yeah, it is played for laughs, but it is, like an interesting framing for this argument. Like, there's no point in like ambushing them with this closeted horse shit because they're gonna find out. And it's really just a cocky 20-year-old's cockamamie scheme, right? And like every other character who is involved knows this. I mean, Armand knows it. He says, "Fuck the senator. I don't give a damn what he thinks." He's Albert knows it, but he's playing along because he wants to get on Val's good side because he wants Val to think of him as a maternal figure in his life, and he wants to be embraced by Val in a way. He craves validation from Val, and that's understandable, because Albert is a very fragile character, and that's mentioned many, many times and shown many, many times in this movie. Yeah.
It's interesting because we're looking at a character who's been through this, like, closeting and through this before, like, he's gone through that development. He's accepted himself. He's, made the mistake of like having Val um because of a one night stand, and he's now found his purpose, and he owns like the Birdcage and everything. And it's like he's gone through that development. But it's interesting that now he's being forced to closet himself again because you know he craves that like relationship with his son. And it's just like, well, I'll do it for him, and he has to dance with the mother of his child, like, and he has to um like play pretend, and uh knowing that it's actively hurting him and his partner. And it's just like, you've gone through this, but like,
Right, but that also shows exactly how much Armand and Albert and even Agador support Val and try to, like make him happy, even though they completely, fundamentally disagree with what he's trying to do. But they just love him that much that they're willing to do all this for him?
yeah, and it just shows, like, in the patriarchy society, how much that they have to do to appease these other people, like, instead of doing things for themselves. Like, they they are so good of people, and they are actively hurting themselves for those people, and for Val. And Val doesn't
Yeah.
realize, like, where he fits in all of this. He doesn't actually like understand how much he's hurting them through doing this. He thinks that it's just like oh, this is easy. Like, to him it's just like oh, just play pretend and dress up for a day. That's what you're good at, right? Like, you guys dress up all the time. You guys act all the time. Like, just do it.
Like it's just business as usual when it's absolutely not, because
Yeah.
that's in the context of a show, and a drag show in which, like if you go to a drag show, you know what you're going to get, right? You have expectations. Those same expectations are not present when you deliberately engineer a dinner around the conceit of your parents pretending to be something they're not, you know? That is completely different context. And it's very unfair and toxic, even. But, like, to your point, Val is not even remotely queer coded, right? He is
Yeah,
presented as, yeah, he's presented as a typical, heterosexual man.
that's why he sucks.
Well,
Well, I
and
do hate Val.
yeah, well, in the context of the movie, there's absolutely a reading there, in that because of that, and because of Val's values, and also his father's tendency towards toxic masculinity, he does pick up toxic masculine traits, right? In that, like, who is another victim in all of this? Barbara Keeley, his fiance, who is just going along with this because he is really dead set on it and isn't, like, engineering this whole plan. Like, she is, like, buying into the narrative and, lying on his behalf. But really, this feels like, even though it's never like fully explained in this movie, but it does feel like this was entirely Val's stupid idea, right? And that everyone else is just going along with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how do you feel about I just briefly mentioned him, Agador, or as they call him when the guests arrive, quote unquote, Barbara's family, Agador Spartacus, because supposedly that's less gay. Come on. What? What? Maybe in the
you,
90s.
you can't take the gay out of the gay. No, precious. That's all I have to say about Agador.
I never wear shoes because they make me fall down. What is sweet and sour peasant suit? I just made it up.
Uh, yeah, you could definitely tell like this was a very well crafted like screenplay. Like
Yeah,
every character, and there's just so many funny moments. Like it's just uh, which is perfect because it is like honestly like infuriating sometimes with just how annoying Val is. Like
right,
I don't know if like when this movie came out if Val's like stance was more acceptable, if people were like, "Oh yeah, we see where he's coming from," but just watching it in hindsight right now, it's just like, "Oh my god, Val, fucking just stop.
yeah, yeah,
Stop controlling everybody in your life and just accept things as they are."
right,
It, and if it isn't going to work, then it's just not going to work. Like but like this woman, she loves you for who you are, who your family is, and you just have to like. If her dad doesn't accept that, then well, at least she still loves you.
right,
Like it'd be different if she also had her own hesitations. Then it's just not going to work out.
right. Then it's more of just like different values, different circumstances, just not meshing together, and that does happen a lot in real life.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but in this case, I also got the vibe that that was a bit of Val's insecurity, because I've been in that situation where I have, like, had a death grasp on a relationship because I thought that was the only possible option, and that comes from a place of lack of self-esteem, right? Thinking that
yeah,
this is the only person that is ever going to love you, and if it doesn't work out, then you're doomed to be alone. It's like that's just not how life goes. There's always going to be people who are a better fit, and if you're not a good fit for each other, then the relationship is only doomed to be toxic and destructive anyway. And,
yeah,
like, you'd be like, oh well, you can learn to. And it's like, to an extent, sure, but if you have a difference of values in a relationship, that's always going to come out, and that's
yeah.
always going to manifest in some horrible way.
because you're also going to be masking through that entire relationship too.
Right.
You're going
Right.
you're trying to fit like um you know a s- you're trying to fit a square into a circle
Yeah. Square
hole.
peg into a round hole. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not working. Like
Right.
it's never going to work. Some days you might be able to chisel it away and fit it, but then it comes back the next day where it's square and you don't know how the hell that happened.
Right. And isn't that a perfect metaphor for being a closeted gay anyway? You know, it's like, yeah, you can hide who you are, as a person. You can, like not express yourself in any way that you want to express yourself. But at the end of the day, you're really only hurting yourself. And you need to just get out of that situation and find people who will love and respect you. And sometimes that is very hard, and it's easier said than done. I know that, absolutely from personal experience, and I know you do too. But it's just, life is hard. It's harder when you have to hide who you are.
You really do have to find it. It really does take searching to find the people who you really click with, and family is not always going to be that for you.
Right.
It takes a long time to realize that, and masking with your family is never fun. And uh, I'm sure, like, I feel like in this, Val is trying to get that connection with Barbara's father because
Yeah.
of his lack of a connection with his father.
Right. There's definitely an aspect of that. And like to your point, no one in this movie can really relate to Kevin except for fucking Albert. And even then, Albert is doing a bit most of that time. Of course, Kevin never picks up on it,
Well,
until the end. Yeah, but yeah,
you said this before though, like Albert, for what it's worth, like Albert is a has a heart of gold, like
yes,
super sensitive, super just just like super feminine, and just like really really good at being empathetic. And you know like I'm sure that Gene Hackman's character like didn't didn't really see that he would like have that connection with Albert. And then they're talking and he's able to finally be heard and understood. And even if it is a bit, it's just like how validating, like you
yeah.
didn't think you'd get this from a man.
And more to your point, like he didn't know that it was a man at that point, right? Like he thought he was connecting with a woman. In fact, his wife, Louise, was actually jealous at many times because uh, because Kevin Keeley, the senator, was just like gushing over Albert every time they weren't in the room together after they met, and she was like feeling threatened, and that's kind of funny in a way. Well, of
Well,
course, it's played for laughs too, but that's the point. But yeah, anyway,
it goes to that like say that like feeling that like s- you know so many conservative men like they how many of them are actually closeted themselves. They could
right,
find the
right,
right person and they could come out, and like it's all about just dynamics. I this movie plays this movie has like the stereotypical dynamic of the honcho man in Armand and the feminine man in Albert, but it doesn't always have to be that way, like, I know our mom has always seen it as that way with our uncle, but like it it's not like a
it's not so cut and
absolute
dry.
science.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
people are people. They're people just
Right.
find who they match with.
But to your point about like how this movie is framed for 1996 audiences, that's an aspect of it, right? Because that was a dynamic that modern audiences at the time were willing to accept. You got the butch gay and you got the submissive gay. Like okay, we get that. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's mostly why it's framed that way. And it does make sense for this narrative. It's Armand is definitely a butch, hyper masculine asshole at various points in this movie. But he also does have empathy. He does, try to relate to Albert and, uh, in some ways, eventually Agador, but he is very frustrated with Agador and he says some awful racist shit to him. Like, oh, have you heard of a green card? Like shit like that, and it's like, that was played for laughs, but like by modern standards, it's like, especially with everything that's going on right now, with your alligator Alcatrazes and what have you, it is very, very rough from a, modern viewing, that to be like, oh yeah, this hapless minority, who, let's just, have him deported because we're not satisfied with his job performance. And it's like, don't joke about that shit. That's not fair. That's not nice.
Well, I mean, I guess that does really go to show. Like again, you said it was being played for a joke, but like anybody could really be mean and hurtful. Like
Yeah, especially when you feel uh maybe a little too comfortable with people who, in some capacity, there should be a professional line, right? Like, because Agador is like a friend of the club and he's a friend of the Goldmans, but he is also, you know, on staff. He is their worker. So like to, like make those kind of jokes, it's cruel, because it's like there's a power imbalance there as well that isn't being factored in.
can you refresh me? When does that happen? Is it like still in the middle of the movie
Yeah,
while they're masking?
yeah, it's before the Keeleys arrive, and they're trying to straighten up the place, for lack of a better pun. Uh, and like Agador's, being ditzy, and like not totally, getting on board with the program, because he doesn't understand the assignment fully, because like yeah,
Yeah.
he is played as kind of dumb, like, and that's Hank Azaria hamming it up. He's fantastic in this movie. We love him.
Well, that's another kind of like gay stereotype too.
Right,
I mean,
right.
and I mean, we've all. I don't know if anybody on this podcast has heard, but we've all heard of Leandra talking about their friend Oscar, and Oscar is an amazing man. But he does some very silly things sometimes. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. But like to your point, like yeah, he's a ditz, and yeah, he's kind of dumb about certain things, but it's not like he's an idiot.
no,
Like
no.
yeah,
I mean, he's
right,
still a human being, like just like
right.
Oscar. Like, people could but that just goes to show like how like honest to yourself these people can be. Like they're just so confident and so amazing with like how in themselves they are. Like they don't care if they say something silly or dumb. Like they're just gonna they're not gonna hang on to it. But you're the asshole who's hanging on to it. You're the person who's nitpicking everything that they say and like really examining and trying to make them out to be an asshole. And like I do find it interesting that Armand in here, this is when he's still like this is when he's trying to get into character and he's straightening up the place, and it's like that unrest, that dissonance in him that's starting to come out is going to affect his life in other ways that are unprecedented. Like he's going to take it out on other people too. And I mean, like that goes for Armand and Albert, that they have so many quarrels with each other because of this now. Because of that
Yeah,
dissonance.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like this is a very stressful situation for the Goldmans, right? Like they have to lie about literally everything, even their the Goldmans. They have to lie about their name. They have to lie about being Jewish, and there's a lot of confusion about that. Oh, is it pronounced Coleman or Coldman? And like then to Albert's credit, he comes up with this entire fucking cockamamie fucking narrative about how they're called one thing in France and one thing in Greece and one thing in Florida. And it's like it convinces the Keeleys, but it's like he shouldn't have to do that, right? He shouldn't be expected to do that, and he really wasn't. But he was stepping in to save the day, right? Because there's all these holes and loose threads that can't be properly, explained without blatant lying because of this whole situation that Val has cooked up, which is
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I mean that's definitely part of the trope is like uh you know, you don't really realize it, but like one lie really leads into the next and the next and the next, and it's a huge hole that you're never gonna dig yourself out of. Um, and I feel like that's also part of like play the play feel of this too. Like it's kind of like what's that play with the guy with the big nose? Um, Cyrano de Bergerac.
yes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Like a lie that just keeps digging itself further and further, further, and yeah, honestly, the French really do have something for comedies where someone's just lying about something and it keeps going.
yeah. Well, to be fair, this is a big aspect of French comedy. They, like especially, historically speaking, they were absolutely known for their incredible social satires, and Cyrano is one of them. And like, yeah, like it definitely explores the more human side of comedy, of like human relations and conflicts in a really compelling way sometimes. Like and of course we have other cultures that have artists that do that as well. But like France was known for that for a time, and that is interesting because we especially modern stereotypes, and by modern I mean for most of the 21st and 20th century, France was known for its like stereotypically known for among other things, their promiscuity and their heightened sexual appetites and nature, and adultery and all that stuff. And it's like, is that true? Maybe to an extent, but like with stereotypes, it's like like there's sometimes an aspect of truth that gets dialed up to a million.
We've already talked about so many stereotypes, like in this movie too.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, well, I I really can only think of one other thing to say, and that's like what you just like touched upon too with I'm sorry, I've never really understood the persecution or like the vitriol against Jewish people. Like uh it,
Yeah.
it it really just seems like an in group out group kind of thing, but like just the fact that they have to hide the fact that they're Jewish as well. It's like we're adding onto the like what else can we throw on this list of things that we have to hide about ourselves? We have to hide everything. Like they have to even hide that they're Jewish. People still feel like they need to do that because of the animosity, and I don't think like Christians realize that. Some Christians don't realize that animosity. They're just trying. Sometimes it's like, oh well, we can convert them. We can like, they're so close to understanding the truth. Like they can be converted. But that that want to convert someone is animosity. You just don't realize, like, just accept them as they are. Just accept their faith and who they are as a person, because like that's as intrinsic to who they are as Christianity is intrinsic to who you are.
Right.
Um, you know,
And yeah, there are gay Christians. And if you say that's a contradiction, it's absolutely not. The only times that homosexuality is specifically demonized in the Bible are at times before, Jesus' sacrifice, the atonement, So there is the very valid and probably very true reading that all of that stuff was invalidated by, the resurrection, basically. So even if you want to talk in terms of, Christian quote unquote lore, it doesn't hold up. The argument doesn't hold up. And like people will always quote Leviticus, which is really funny for anti-Semitics to quote ancient Israelite laws. Those are not God's laws. Like arguably the only God's laws that hold up in the Bible are the Ten Commandments. And what do we know about those? Those were literally presented to Moses by God, So yeah, that holds up. Everything else, the Israelites, man's laws, those do not at all. Those were archaic laws even at the time. And yeah, of course, there's the obvious then, the equivocation of then saying, like, oh, well, then you shouldn't mix fabrics and you shouldn't, eat shellfish. And I think that's a weaker argument because, okay, yeah, like all that other stuff is silly too. But I'm saying fundamentally, it no longer applies. And that's just an argument that some people will stick their head in the sand or, gleefully, ignore and pretend is, not entirely made up just for the sake of their own narrative, And that's so fucking shallow and petty and stupid. And be a better person. You can.
yeah. I mean, uh, I I also just feel like, why are we using like Christianity as a just as an end all be all for our morals too? Like,
Yeah.
we've all heard people say like, well, I can't understand how like atheists could have good morals, because like all of the good morals are created in like the Bible. Like the Bible is the reference for how to be a good person. Like bitch, we can be good people without having a book to tell us what to do. Like
Yeah,
good.
and of course the obvious counter argument to that is, which has been said many times, but if the only reason you're a good person is because you're afraid of being turned into a pillar of salt, then you're not a good person. Fear should not be an aspect of your morals,
Of course not. And I mean, I we can see that in like Catholics, molesting children. Like it's just like they're masking part of their like just mental illness and trying to keep going, and then unfortunately, eventually it comes out like, no, you should get help. You should seek therapy. But that masking is intrinsic to like they're just trying intrinsic to that religion. They don't they know that they'd be ostracized, and they know that they would be judged. But like, just like in this situation in this movie, but no, you should be true to yourself. And part of being true to yourself is acknowledging that you need help. If like as a Catholic priest you are having thoughts like that, go get therapy, like go talk to someone. Don't victimize someone else, and like don't just try to mask and pretend it's okay, because as we've talked about in this movie, eventually something bad is going to happen, and like it's going to come out either way. So go get help.
And to your point more, an important thing to address with that is that there was a narrative that, and it added to intense homophobia in a way that it shouldn't have. That, oh, these priests are just gay. That's why they're going after little boys. And it's like, no. Um, I think Spotlight, the movie Spotlight, which is a movie I'd love to cover at some point, says it best. In that, no, they usually targeted boys because there was more shame there, and there was a power imbalance that was greater than with girls, and there was more opportunity to go after boys, because there were altar boys. There were boys that were staying behind to help the church after service hours. So, there was more opportunity, and girls did get molested, right? It absolutely happened. It just didn't happen as much because there wasn't as many opportunities, and because the boys were absolutely more likely to just clam up about it and never talk about it until the statute of limitations that had expired, decades later. So it's really just about control, right? It's that's really what it was about, like a deep sexual control that, and that could, stem from a place of these priests just being sexually repressed for so long because they're
Yeah.
all told you have to be celibate.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too.
And that, for some reason, for a long time, Catholics regarded masturbation as a greater sin than sexual assault and rape. And that's so fucking weird and stupid to me. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? In one case, the only one you're violating is your own hand, and in the other case, it's a whole other ass human being. You know.
And this is why we can't refer to a book for the the guidebook on what is our morals, what is wrong, what is right.
Well, see, it's not even that. It's just an interpretation of the text that's the problem. It's like you could choose not to make up bullshit. You always have that choice. It's just some people, especially when they have an agenda, choose not to take it. And I'm not going to say that like there aren't agendas and pretty much everything. I mean, we even have an agenda, with this episode. I wanted to cover, an actual queer representation movie for Pride Month because we're getting near the end of it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, that's an agenda, but like, it doesn't have to be toxic or manipulative. It doesn't have to be rooted in bad faith actions. It certainly
No.
doesn't have to be rooted in assaulting people.
Yeah, and I mean, like you did, it's also good to just be transparent about your own agenda as well.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, of course. Anyway, there's one last thing about this movie that I want to bring up because we haven't talked about it at all. Um, it is the reason why everything works out in the end, and that is because of Senator Keeley's a co-founder of the uh, Coalition for Moral Order at the beginning of this movie. And he's established as that, and he is technically throughout the movie. But of course, the coalition's co-founder, and who Kevin founded the organization with, is a fellow senator named Eli Jackson, who was of course found dead in the bed of an underage black prostitute. And that was a huge scandal, of course, for conservatives because, like, even at this time, unfortunately, uh, prior to 2016, the only thing you could really get conservative politicians on was like blatant moral hypocrisy, right? That was the only way you could get them, canceled in the parlance of our times,
Hmm.
and so he's desperately avoiding being associated with that to the point where he eventually agrees to go along with this scheme and sneak his way out of the club to avoid being seen by the reporters who like are swarming the club at that point by by having them all dress in drag. Absolutely an amazing and funny conclusion to this movie. And just dancing out to "We Are Family," which is of course another very significant beat. The fact that they're dancing to that song.
Yes. We are family.
Yabba dabba da 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 dee, in the words of Gene Hackman.
Go off, Queen.
Hell yeah. But yeah, did you have anything else to say about that or the scandals or what have you?
Honestly, it's just like a very like, interesting conclusion. It's all about just like, and I feel like that's why it works so well. Is like this entire movie is all about perception and you know just how we are perceived, how we save face, how we mask, and just like he is even masking a little bit himself um in order to be perceived well, like because like someone else has made a mistake, he's affiliated with that, and he needs to save his face immediately. And it's just like I understand like you're you might like do the right thing here, but like you're still doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, that's cognitive dissonance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about that like that dissonance that like Albert and it's the dissonance that Albert and Armand feel, and now it's the dissonance that like he feels. But it's just hopefully over time, like he can understand and see the love that these two people have and can come to like be changed with that, because that does happen in real life. And I mean, I it was played for laughs, but hopefully I can imagine having that conversation with Albert where Albert sees him and connects to him. Like I could see that like actually playing in his brain and changing him over time, especially if he does resume like a like other conversations with Albert too. But like
Right.
sometimes, that is a necessary evil. Like you do have to use it against them, like against Republicans, because they are so obsessed with image and with like things like wealth and how they're perceived like by others. And I don't know why they are. It's just like so important to them.
Yeah, sure, but yeah, like to your point though, like that's one of the reasons why positive representation of minorities in general is so important, because most people can't relate to something they have no frame of reference for, right? So, and like that's the real reason you have, like in cities, where everything is cosmopolitan and melting pot, and people are interacting with other cultures all day, every day. People tend to be more progressive, right? And then you get, people in the middle of fucking nowhere, Wyoming, who are not, because they're in insular communities where if they see a gay, like their social dogma and moral dogma, especially if you're much younger, like a teenager, it's going to tell you that this is an outsider, this is an enemy. We have to attack this enemy because they are going to destroy what we have. And it's like, if you're around these people all day, every day, that's not true. They're just trying to get by like everyone fucking else, you know?
Yeah.
But if you're in bumfuck Kansas and your only friend is a bottle of Jack Daniels, then you're not going to see that. And you see, you can be other just as easily as anyone else. And there have been, like absolutely stereotypes about those communities. And how would you feel about that if that was all that was ever said about you? If you live in Arkansas or Alabama, and every day, all you hear is about how you're fucking your cousin. Like, is that healthy for you? Now imagine it 100 times worse because it's an entire official position is that you shouldn't exist. Imagine that. Try to empathize with someone else for once in your life.
Yeah. Uh, I do think like it's just it was so important because this was one of the first mainstream movies about any of this. Like it really
in
did break the
America.
mold.
Yeah, in America, in the US, yeah.
Yeah. Well, nowhere else matters actually. So
Oh, now you sound like GS.
it's funny. I could just imagine him saying that even though he's Canadian.
Well, he would say it jokingly as well, so
Well, yeah.
yeah.
Well, do you have anything else to say about this movie?
I think that was it. Yeah, no, yeah, so good movie, good time, good talk.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I will just briefly say, and this is a quick aside that has nothing to do with this movie, but it was written by Elaine May, who directed one of my favorite '70s movies, Mikey and Nicky. Oh my God, such a fucking good movie.
Nice. I've never seen it.
Oh, it's so good. It's uh stars John Cassavetes and Peter Falk, and they're both great. Yeah, the director John Cassavetes, but he also acted a lot. He even was nominated for an Oscar once
Is
for
it similar to this movie? Uh,
not at all. No, it's more of like a buddy comedy gone wrong kind of thing, like a tragic ending, which of course I won't give away. Very '70s, very postmodern.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Like I said, one of my favorites. But yeah, so we have been talking about, of course, The Birdcage, the 1996 American comedy film produced and directed by Mike Nichols, written by Elaine May, um, based on the 1978 French-Italian film La Cage aux Folles, and the 1973 play, and starring Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, Dan Futterman, Callista Flockhart, Gene Hackman, Diane Wiest, Hank Azaria, Christine Baranski. And are you more of a Fosse, or a Martha Graham, Madonna, Madonna?
But such a Robin Williams.
It's so fucking good. I love it. I laugh every time. Every time I see that scene, I bust out laughing. Just the voguing, yeah, so good.
I'm telling you, we should reach out to Zelda and see see what she says about Robin Williams being bi.
Okay.
I'm just
Zelda's
joking,
active online. I know. I'm not gonna. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother Zelda Williams.
obviously.
She's harassed about her dad enough as it is. I'm not getting involved in. Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, what a good movie.
Yeah. Top marks. All right. The Birdcage. All right. See you guys.
Bye.
We're staying with the Jeb Bushes this weekend.